If you're thinking of moving to Granbury, Texas, before you pack your bags and move to one of the top retirement destinations in America, there's a couple of things you need to know, or you could be making a huge mistake. Well, in this video, we're going to take you on a map tour of Granbury and the surrounding areas so you can find out everything from location and lifestyle to traffic and things to do, all the while pointing out some of the most popular neighborhoods so you can figure out where you want to be and, more importantly, where you don't want to be. Out of all of the places in the Dallas Metroplex, Granbury, Texas is an outdoor lover's dream. With just about 11,000 people for its permanent population, it's got a small town charm while packing a big city punch, and still only being about half an hour's drive from Fort Worth downtown. And today we're going to take a bit of a virtual drive and show you what life in Granbury is really like. So where the hell even is Granbury? Well, for those of you who don't know, Granbury, while being one of the top retirement destinations, not just in Texas, but the US, is kind of unknown. It's a bit of a hidden gem, even here in the DFW area. But as far as the Dallas Metroplex goes, it's a very sought after place for this reason alone here. So if we take a look at the map, you can see that Granbury is nestled just in the bend of the Brazos River. So the Brazos River, really famous river here in Northeast Texas. And what it is, Lake Granbury isn't actually a lake, first and foremost. It's a flooded river. So you can see how it thickens and bends and all this stuff, and then suddenly it gets down to this little place called Pecan Plantation, and we'll get to that in a minute because this place has a story in and of itself. But you can see it just thins out here really quick, and it's still the Brazos River, but it's just way less full on the map, and that's because they end up blocking this off and they flooded the river, and that's all Lake Granbury is. It's a big flooded river. Now, while it kind of makes it geographically a little bit more winding than a typical lake, it also offers a ton of real estate opportunities for people that are looking to find waterfront property. Because if you didn't know this about Lake Granbury, it's actually one of the few bodies of water in the Dallas area that you can build a house on. Now, there are a ton of lakes around DFW. Plenty of them, and you can build houses all around them, but the thing is, you can't necessarily build on the water for most of them. A lot of them are Army Corps of Engineers or some type of reservoir where they don't allow you to actually build property on the lake. Granbury is not that way. You can actually build not just up to the water, but out into the water. There are certain stipulations, obviously, but you can build like docks, boat houses, people build slides, and all these crazy things that actually go out into the water, which makes Lake Granbury a very sought after place, not just to live, but to go visit as well. So I'm actually a personal frequenter of the area. It's a great recreational lake. Tom actually used to have a boat that we would go out on, and it was tons of fun. If you know anyone with watercraft and they're looking for a great place to hang out or party, this is the way to go. Now, I say party loosely. You're not going to have a bunch of hooligans out here or anything crazy because, like I said, it is a retirement destination. A lot of people also go here for fishing and, recreational water sports or just to hang out at the lake. It's also a very peaceful lake for how many people actually go out here. So lots of pros to this, and the list keeps going on and on. I'm not going to bore you guys with the details, but suffice to say, the Granbury is on the Brazos River, and if you don't know where that is, we're going to zoom out here a little bit. This main road, actually, before we get too far, is 377, U.S. Highway 377. It's the main road that goes all the way through Granbury. That also has a story to it. We'll get to that in a bit, especially for you guys that are worried about traffic. Don't worry, I got you covered with all of that information. But as we zoom out here a little bit, you'll see Crescent comes into view, Benbrook, and we're kind of, if we shift this way, you can see Fort Worth up here. Now, I know before you guys run off, I know that looks really far away. Let me tell you right now, from here to here is only about 20 minutes, because if we zoom out a little bit, you see Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington, the whole, central DFW area here. And Granbury looks way the hell and gone over here in the corner. This isn't bad. First of all, Granbury's only actually probably a little less than half an hour from downtown Fort Worth, so you can make it all the way to the heart of the city center here, and it'd be less than half an hour. It takes about 45 to 50 minutes to get to the airport, depending on, because if we take a look here, Louisville, Carrollton, Grapevine, this is where DFW International Airport is, just right there in that little triangle there. So from here to here is about 45 to 50 minutes. Now, I'll say this is where the insider information comes in, because depending on where you land in Granbury, it can take that 45-minute drive and push it over an hour by a substantial amount. And I'll talk about that a little bit here in a minute. But suffice to say, while it looks like a lot on the map, because, everything's bigger in Texas, including how far you got to drive to get places, this is a 70-mile-an-hour road the entire way, 2 to 3 lanes, depending on what part. So you have no difficulty maneuvering, getting where you need to go. And you won't even notice this part of the distance. You will notice it once you get into town, because that's when traffic starts stacking up. But hey, that's the perks of living in the city, I guess. So suffice to say, the drive time isn't as bad as it looks on the map. I've made it several times. I make it on a regular basis. And I've never personally had an issue with it. As a matter of fact, this is a really sought after place to live because I have relatives that live here, or actually I used to live here, and actually Tom has relatives that live here currently just outside of Granbury over here in DeCordova, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well. But before you end up moving somewhere or even visiting somewhere, the main draw, I feel like, to the area are the things to do. And while I've stated the obvious, we have a lake. I'm certain you can think of all the things to do on a lake. There's probably a big question mark around what other things there are to do, maybe especially for the people who don't have a boat or, don't really care about the lake. Well, don't worry. Granbury is just awash with culture and activity. So one of the first things I want to point out before we get too far is downtown Granbury. So if we take right here off of Houston and Pearl, you can kind of see you've got like Stanley Park, the Granbury Skate Park. Where's it at? So it's around this area here. Basically, you've got the downtown Granbury area. Now, Granbury's an older town, well over 100 years old. And so you've got like an old town Granbury downtown area. It's this big square. It's filled with like these little mom and pop shops, these little bespoke one-off strip center shops and cafes and curios. And it's surrounded by, I think this is the tax office or something like that, but it's this really big, beautifully Masonic government building in the center with all these trees about it, and the square goes around it. Plenty of people walking about. It's got like a really almost like New England-esque feel to it, where there's a bunch of shade trees and people milling about in the streets. It's really cute. It's a beautiful date area to take the hubby or wifey, and you can see like they got all these little restaurants and art galleries and things all around here. So tons of fun, and it's surrounded by a lot of really historic. If you're a history buff, you'll love this place. Like they've got the Hood County Jail Museum, which has a ton of stories. I'm not going to spoil those. You guys you got to go see them. And the parks are beautiful as well. So we'll start there and just kind of branch our way outward, because Granbury they've got your chain restaurants, like there's Chili's, McDonald's, whatever. Everyone knows those, but there's also a bunch of like one-off mom and pop kind of things, because one of the great things about Granbury is while there's a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of resources and wealth in this area, it's not overbearing. It's not like trying to build your own business in, say, like downtown Dallas or something like that, where you're just going to get crushed by somebody with deep pockets. You come here, there's a lot of opportunities for people who are trying to build their own, like put down roots, start their own companies, things like that. So you're going to see a lot of one-off restaurants that you'll never see anywhere else that offer all kinds of, great food and, opportunities, products, whatever. And I think that's one of the huge draws of Granbury as far as like the commerce itself goes. And of course, for those of you that are looking for the big box stores, there's a Walmart, there's an H-E-B. And if you haven't been to H-E-B, it's basically Texas's version of a Walmart. And then they just injected it with a bunch of steroids. It's crazy. You definitely need to go sometime. They've got everything and then some. They've got stuff there that you need that you don't know you need yet. But aside from that, in the parks, one of the things Granbury is actually known for, especially for recreation, is its wine. There's a ton of wineries, vineyards, and things around Granbury, and you can go on all sorts of wine tours, wine tastings, pairings, et cetera, et cetera. You are just bombarded with it as soon as you get outside of the city. They've got day tours where you can go to all these vineyards and try out all these different, what do you call them? Like the actual stock of wine itself. Anyway, you could try the different types of wine, and it's great. Like you could eat up a whole week just doing that in and of itself. And of course, there's the lake. There's a ton of things to do on the lake. And then you've got like movie theaters and things like that. So it's a pretty well-stocked place, but I will say Granbury is very low key. So if you're looking for party life or, bar hopping and things like that, there's like maybe 10 bars in Granbury, if that. So it's not really the place to go get turned if you're trying to, pregame for a night on Friday. But if you're looking to go, dancing or hanging out at the, local watering hole and then just like taking a walk downtown, it's beautiful. It's kept temperate by the by the water here, so it never gets too hot. It does get a little muggy, I'll give you that, but overall it's a much nicer place to be than a lot of places in the DFW area, not to knock them. And as you can see, whenever we back out here, there's also a ton of green space here. So if you like the outdoors, Granbury is a great place to be, because not only it being close to DFW is a boon, especially with all the shopping and everything in Clear Fork, just right over here, about 25 minutes away. If you head out this way, if you're a hunter or you do any sort of off-roading activities, things like that, Granbury is basically the gateway into everything west of DFW. So you've got easy access to everything down this direction. And honestly, there's not a ton to talk about in that direction. But as far as, white-tailed deer goes, like that's one of Texas's biggest hunting opportunities. So if you're a hunter, this is the way to go. I'm telling you, hands down. My buddy goes through this every year. They usually get an Airbnb or something on the outskirts of Granbury, and then they'll take their drive out to the reserve where they do their shooting. But all in all, tons of things to do, so you're not going to be hurting there. Okay, so you figured out what there is to do in Granbury. Maybe you're considering the move or the visit or whatever. But what are the people in Granbury like? There's a ton of things to do, sure, but if you don't have anyone you care to do them with, what's the point? Well, honestly, I'll give you this right now. The people in Granbury are lovely. So a little bit of a backstory. My grandpa actually retired to Granbury. We ended up having to move him back because of his doctor's closer to where he's living now. But he was so sad to go. He absolutely loved living in Granbury. If anyone knows Clayton, say hi. He's my grandpa. But he's a firecracker, and I feel like a lot of the people are like that. While the median age in Granbury may be slightly higher because of the number of retirees, I don't think that necessarily means the energy's gone away at all. These people are living their absolute best life, and they want to share it with you. I've never gone through Granbury and gotten mean mugged. I've never gone through Granbury and gotten like dirty stares or anyone giving me bad attitude. Everyone, I feel like, genuinely thinks you have the best interest at heart whenever you go and interact with them there. It's honestly, it's almost surreal. Not Truman Show-esque. It's not like to a creepy level, but it's almost like visiting your grandma every time you go to talk to somebody new. Like, she sees you, she's like, oh, an opportunity to interact with somebody I love. And that's the energy that I get whenever I go and talk to all those people there. So not to, not to talk them up too much. Like, I'm sure there's a stinker in every bunch, but all in all, like, I've never had any complaints with the individuals there. The driving, we'll get to that in a bit, but as far as the people go, it's pretty good. So you're going to love living in Granbury or visiting Granbury, and you're going to love the people that you meet while you're there as well. But I will say this, it is a more mellow crowd. Again, if you're looking for the rowdy, party, hardy type people, you may not necessarily find a bunch of those in Granbury. You'll probably find a bunch of people that'll entertain your conversation about it, I'm sure, but you probably won't get them to join you in any crazy activities. You'll probably find a lot of people that are going to enjoy the outdoors, enjoy, more of a slow-paced, suburban lifestyle. Maybe, they took their foot off the gas a little bit as far as that craziness goes, but they're still out here doing the things they love to do. It sounds like they are always down for, hanging out, having fun. You just might need to dial that knob back a little bit if you're living in the big city. And I think that's honestly what Granbury is all about, is just kind of dialing back a little bit and not feeling the pressure to perform while still getting things done. So all in all, beautiful place to be, beautiful people, tons of things to do. And on top of that, not just the people are great. The city itself actually hosts and organizes a ton of festivals. I don't think you can go an entire month through Granbury without them putting up some kind of banner across the main road through town telling you about some crazy festival that they've going on. Barbecue festival, like Oktoberfest. They'll have like vintage hot rods. They'll have car meets and things like that as well. So there's always something that's happening there, and it's very accessible. Everything from obviously it's elderly friendly as well because of just the type of people that you're going to find there. Not to say they're all old, mind you. There's plenty of people around my age and even younger in Granbury, which brings up the point that, a lot of those people are having kids and they're worried about kid friendliness as well. It's very family oriented in Granbury. Everything is kid accessible. I mean, even your restaurant. That's why I say there's not a lot of bars in Granbury, because I feel like most of the people are either too old to just hang out at bars or they're having kids at this point in time, and bars just aren't really the scene for some somebody who's carrying around a toddler. So most of them are like very accessible family restaurants. And most of your activities have, some form of child friendliness to them to allow for that kind of accessibility as well. They're very aware of the type of people that are moving here. And I honestly think they do a great job of making it that way. Speaking of families, if you do have school-age kids, I know schools are of the utmost importance. As a realtor, that's one of the first things that I get from people whenever they're thinking of moving to an area. What are the schools like? Is it safe? And then their house. Honestly, the house is tertiary to everything else. So I'll say right off the bat, Granbury ISD as a whole is decent. It's not Harvard level or anything like that. I'm not going to lie to you. It's B+ rated on niche.com. And it seems like most of their shortcomings are just in their general funding. So Granbury isn't as well funded as, say, like Arlington ISD or Fort Worth ISD or something like that. So a lot of their facilities may be a little bit older. They may have, maybe less staff on hand. Overall, their academics are still really good. They still have great opportunities for like sports programs, bands, things like that. For extracurriculars. So your kid's not going to be hurting. Honestly, it's still a great school district. You may just need to, taper some expectations when it comes to maybe how new things are going to be at Granbury. Not to say they're old, but they may not be cutting edge. And that's kind of one of the shortcomings of, living a little bit further away from the big city. But I feel like Granbury's still doing a phenomenal job. I don't hear of any terrible people having come from Granbury overall, so they got to be doing something right as far as schooling goes. But now that you got a general idea of what Granbury's like, what to expect, I kind of want to take you guys actually around Granbury here, because while we have the city outline and it kind of looks like a bit of a mess because you're squished between a couple other little sister suburbs, I wanted to give you a little bit of a lay of the land, because this right here, we're going to talk about traffic real quick for those of you that are curious, because this is going to be the make or break for, I feel like, most of the people moving to Granbury, but it doesn't have to be, because on 377, like I said, it's 70 miles an hour until you hit right about here where you get into DeCordova. So DeCordova is like the first sign you're going to see before you ever get into Granbury. It is this big community over here. It's obviously part of the Lake community. They've got some HOAs, but their biggest thing is they've got this big golf course, the DeCordova Golf Club or whatever it's called. You could ask Tom. He's a golf nut. I don't know a lot about it, but he goes there all the time. He's a huge fan of it, and it's actually baked into the HOA, if I'm not mistaken. So you get that included if you end up moving to one of the neighborhoods in here. So if you're an avid golfer and you're looking for something to do with the buddies for however long you're living there, this is honestly a phenomenal option. There's another one down here at Pecan Plantation that we'll talk about as well, but there's some hitches with that one. It depends on what you're looking for. But like I said, so that traffic slows down right as soon as you get to the DeCordova area, and then it gets down to like 55 and it drops to 45, and then you're doing about 40 to 45 through Granbury. Now, this is kind of a bit of a road to be doing 45 to 40 on, and it gets down to 2 lanes at some point. So I'll say right now, for those cities that like to build directly onto the highway, everyone knows how that ends up. You just end up with a bunch of backed up traffic because they put traffic lights and things on highways. So during the day, not usually an issue. Obviously, 5 o'clock rolls around, that's a different story. You'll be singing a different song then, and it's probably going to involve a lot of cussing. But it definitely gets that way in Granbury. I'm not going to lie to you guys or anything like that. And it moves. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to be in like stop and go traffic. You're going to be in very sluggish traffic, which can be frustrating, but I'll tell you right now, you will keep moving, and it only lasts about 45 minutes. Now, if you value your drive to the airport, I would say you want to live on the east side of the lake, because on this side of the lake over here in like DeCordova and the Harbor Lakes area, you've got a much shorter drive time than having to get all the way through that garbage I was talking about and then get across the lake, because the other main street through Granbury, especially if you're headed south, is 144 right here. So this connects you to all this stuff down here and branches off into Pecan Plantation, where a lot of other people live, and Canyon Creek over here. Now you have to take this all the way across to 114 or, one of these arterial roads here, and then take 114 up and then cut across 377 and get through all that traffic. And so I'll say right now, if you're not going to be living in Granbury, like really like jobs in Granbury, schools in Granbury, grocery shopping in Granbury, then I would advise not living in that part of Granbury because your drive time will be increased significantly. You're looking at like 15 to 20 minutes, depending on where you're trying to go, just added to your trip on top of wherever you need to go. Because I actually had some clients that were looking over here. They loved a house down in this area. It was a brand new build, this one-off builder. He did a great job and they were getting a lot of bang for their buck, but they ended up actually turning it down because of how much that drive time added for them, because the guy actually worked on base. I know look, for reference, the base is up here by River Oaks in Northwest Fort Worth, and he wanted to live in Granbury. I mean, cost effectiveness and tax rates aside, because Granbury's great in both of those departments, it was already a 40-minute drive at best, and then he wanted to live on the west side of the lake, and I just kind of cringed to myself. I mean, I let him learn. I showed him exactly why that may not be the best idea, and he agreed with me, and we ended up finding them something over here in the DeCordova area. I think it was Saratoga. It was like a D.R. Horton neighborhood or something like that. It's a really cute neighborhood, but it saved him almost 25 minutes on his drive time when traffic hits. He was very grateful for it. Anyway, so small things like that can really add up. But if you are looking for a very cost-effective place to live, even in Granbury, you can find a lot of stuff here for honestly unbelievable prices. They're going to be older, mind you, because people figured this out a long time. Waterfront property is valuable, and they snatched up as much of it as they could. And it was no different on this side of the lake either. So whenever they built all this out, you're probably going to end up with maybe a 20, 30-year-old home. There are some new homes being built out there, but they're like onesies and twosies. Not a lot of lakefront new development necessarily. There are a couple of pocket communities around here in this area, but the biggest draw, like I said, is going to be that drive time. So if that's something that you're okay with, maybe you love driving, maybe you're headed in the other direction and you don't care, this would be a great way to save a penny on your property purchase or rental. You're also on the right side of the lake for the medical center here, because Granbury does actually have a decent medical facility. I don't believe they have an emergency center, but they've got a care flight program, so they can get people wherever they need to go very easily, especially with retirement population. That was a priority for them, I'm certain. There's also a lot of really good development up here. So there's this one, I believe it's here. Yeah, Abe's Landing. So this one was really popular, and they're getting close to the end of their last phase. But don't let that discourage you, because if I go here, you can already see there's big swaths of land all around it that they could snatch up. Like, this is waterfront right here. Nobody's touched that. Now, mind you, somebody owns that. So it may be a year, 2 years, 3 years, however long before that person sells. But as soon as they do, it's probably going to look like this. Now, these are those little boathouses and docks and things I was talking to you about. Like, people will just build out onto the water, because you can do that at Lake Granbury, which is cool. But there are going to be opportunities, and this is a really nice community here, just to kind of show it off a little bit. They got their own little amenity center surrounded by this big green space. I helped a couple, actually. They're building a house out here as well. Wow, that's a big house. Good for that guy. But yeah, these are really nice houses. They range in like they've got stuff that dips into the 400s, but really you're looking like 500 to 700,000 depending on the kind of house you're trying to build. And they're nice houses. We're talking like Bloomfield. There's some Landsea as well, and I think there's one other builder. But that's a really desirable place to be, especially since it's here on the bend of the river. It's really convenient, and that bridge right there gets you into downtown like that. On top of that, it's all green space over here, so it's nice and quiet. You've also got a new home development over here. Now, these are, I actually don't remember exactly where it is. Oh yeah, here we go, South Bend Estates. So these are bigger. So these are acre lots. You can see you got a lot more green space on your house. They're a lot deeper. These are big houses. I'm talking like, I think the minimum square footage here is 2,700. So a lot of these, this one's probably 3,500 square feet. You got like outboard garages and shops and things like that. And that's a cool, oh yeah, here you go. Dang, that guy's got a whole second house behind his. But anyway, you can get a lot of land out in Granbury for a very reasonable price. I think these landed in the $700,000 to $900,000 range, which is pretty typical for something like that, but not on that much land. To be able to get that much land and this close to the Metroplex is crazy, especially when you got the lake literally within a stone's throw. This guy's got a whole NFL football field behind his backyard. Good Lord. So there's a lot of really cool opportunities for people that are moving to the Granbury area as well. And there's one in particular I kind of want to point out, because this one, honestly, this could be a whole video in and of itself. I've talked about it a couple of times already, but Pecan Plantation. Now, if you guys don't know anything about Texas, one of our biggest exports for, fruits, nuts, things like that is the pecan pie. You got, praline pecans, etc. The list literally goes on. There's places that just sell pecans, and somehow they make a killing. Don't get me wrong, I love pecans, but probably not this much. This place used to be, obviously, a pecan plantation. So this guy, landowner, had a ton of land around the Brazos River and planted trees. Just left to right, it was nothing but trees. And you can still go through there, and there's like orchards of pecan trees. It's almost trippy to drive by it because the roads go through them, and you just see like wall and wall and wall of pecan trees. But obviously, throughout the years, land became more valuable, and it became more beneficial to that person to start selling. So they started selling off a ton of this land and developing it into Pecan Plantation. Pecan Plantation is a gated community, and community is an understatement. This thing has a flight line or a runway for airplanes. It has 2 golf courses. This thing has, it's got a country club. It's got horse stalls and arenas. It's got campgrounds. It's got archery ranges. It's got hiking and biking and forestry. Like it's insane. It has its own food store or like supermarket kind of thing. So it's, when I say it's a community, that's a joke of a word to use for this thing. It basically is its own city at this point, and all of it is gated access. So the only people coming in and out of here live here. So you're not going to get like some rando just showing up because maybe they thought gas was going to be cheaper in this part of town. Everyone in here is like a resident or a visitor, which is crazy because like it's huge. Look, it's almost the size of Granbury. But it's technically part of it. It's a little suburb, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. You can see there's the flight line right there. Yeah, they got little personal aircraft coming in and out. These guys here, they've got their own little hangars. Like it's a setup. It's crazy. But they've got golf courses that just kind of dot throughout the whole thing. Oh, here's some of those orchards, by the way. I mean, this isn't a great photo. They look a little dried up. Maybe this was winter. But yeah, there's trees everywhere. The whole place is beautiful. They've got these really decorative things all along the roads. The people here are great. I mean, they'll recognize you if you're not from here. Like, don't get me wrong. I was going through Pecan Plantation, and people were kind of like, I've never seen you here before. Not in like a bad way, just in like, that's how communal it is here. Oh yeah, they got all sports courts and things like that. It's a very set up place, and the Brazos River just wraps around the whole thing. It's a little difficult to see here, but you can see like it's almost like a moat protecting Pecan Plantation. And it's very sought after because they've got all sorts of new houses as well as obviously older houses as well. So most of the building, I believe, actually started, don't quote me on this, I want to say it was around the mid to late 1970s is whenever they really started building in here. So you've got some houses that are going on about 50 years old, and then most of the stuff that you are going to see is late 90s through, well, basically today, because they're still building out here. We actually have a video of a new home that we toured, and this was this lady's first time building a house. She'd gotten the company from her husband, who was a builder, and he just gave her the reins and let her do whatever she wanted with it. I've never seen some of the things in this house in any other house. It's crazy. So you guys tell me what you think of that one. And I mean, put it down in the comments. Let me know, because honestly, like, I've got my opinion, but to each their own. But you can see over here, they're still building. So you get like these nice big lots. These are probably, half an acre, nice big houses. And they've still got plenty of space to build out here. Plus, you got these more dense areas here. So these are some of the older homes over here. Not old, but these look like maybe 2000s time frame. And it's just kind of dotted throughout the whole area. And then I actually, funny story, whenever I was originally doing the filming for this years ago at this point, back when I sucked at making videos, I still suck, but I'm getting better. The archery range and everything is towards the back. And I didn't even go all the way to the back, but I drove around the outside of it thinking, just looking at it on the map, I was like, oh, it's not that far away. I'll just go around. man, that was a mistake. It probably took me about 45 minutes to go all the way around Pecan Plantation. Like it's something else. So if that's something you're looking for, it's a great retirement destination that has one of the golf courses actually baked into your HOA fee. So you already have access to, I think it's the Nutcracker is what they call it. And then they have a second one that you can pay for if you want multiple courses, more opportunity or more options for golfing. So that way it kind of saves you some money if that's not really your thing and you don't want to deal with it. But yeah, for those that are looking for it, 2 golf courses, they're both apparently really good. Like I said, I suck at golfing. We have this game we play called the Jackhammer. Anytime I go golfing with them, I'm basically like a free mulligan. If you want to use my skills, you can, but I'd advise against it. So anyway, but yeah, Granbury's got a lot of opportunities. I will say it has its ups and downs. There are some places where it looks a little rough because it's an older community. A lot of people, they threw down like maybe a mobile home or a manufactured home before the city really kind of got their ducks in a row and cleaned everything up. So depending on where you want to land, I would say some of the places we looked at today are pretty safe bets. If you're curious about Granbury and you want to know a little bit more about some of the neighborhoods out there, give us a call because it's honestly way too much to ramble on about in a video, but I'd love to talk to you guys about it. It's like one of my favorite places in the Dallas area. And I'd really hate for y'all to make a mistake and end up in one of those really crummy areas and not know it. But aside from that, if this is something that you guys are considering doing, remember, whether you're looking to buy or sell, keep calm and call Tom.